Hi everyone, thank you for clicking this video. It's going to be part one of a series in which I will overanalyze Beyond Good and Evil. I was originally going to just make those one massive video, but as it turns out, the laptop that I bought secondhand 6 years ago couldn't quite handle it. Caught on fire. Everything's on fire, in fact. So, Beyond Good and Evil is a game made by one of the two best studios in Europe, directed by my favorite video game designer of all time, and is one of the very few cult classics that actually hold up to this day. I'm putting all of this at the beginning of the video so you know where I stand. It's one of the last games I played with my sister before puberty caused us to grow apart like a tree and a slightly different tree, so it's very close to my heart. For this video, I recorded a 100% playthrough. I will be talking about different elements of the game as they come up, and I will point out bits of foreshadowing without spoiling major plot points ahead of time. I will also throw around a lot of speculation, most of which probably won't add up. If you somehow ended up here without having played Beyond Good and Evil and reach a point in the video that makes you want to play this game, I recommend either the Uplay version on PC, which as far as I know is the only one with controller support, or the HD version on 360 and PS3. Or don't. Going forward, I will assume that you have played the game, so if you haven't yet, you can always add this video to your watch later list. Oh boy, this is going to be the biggest bit of continuous writing I've done since translating that creepy Bible from Outlast 2. Let's begin. Or not. Let's install a better widescreen mod and fix the frame rate. Link should be in the description. If not, please melee sapiens me in the comments. Yeah, while the PC version is a valid way to play the game, it's also been handled by Ubisoft Montpellier's slideshow enthusiast division. There's probably no better way to set the stage in a game about the power of media and propaganda than a somewhat suspicious news report with your host, Fen Digler.
The war has arrived at the gates of Hillis. This peaceful mining planet in System 4 is now completely encircled by the DomZ Armada. General Keck, Supreme Commander of the Alpha Forces, would like to take this opportunity to address a final message to the population.
Loyal Hillians, the impending battle will be a difficult one, but thanks to the Alpha section,
While the world is seemingly about to end, we'll find our heroine and the baby Capra demon meditating. The music, the sound of the waves, the birds, the sunrise, and the fluid animation of the characters make this a beautiful establishing shot for both the characters and the planet of Hillis. Right away we know that this is, or at least used to be, a peaceful place. We can also see that the planet is mostly covered in water and that there is at least one large settlement. Jade and Fen, and yes, the goat is also named Fen, which means that as far as we know, all males on this planet are named Fen, are going through what seems to be their morning routine. However, there are some neat details here, see if you can spot them. The fact that Fen's movements are delayed may at first seem like the two just have a different rhythm, but you can actually see Fen looking over at Jade for directions. He also does that thing that we all do, where you just skip ahead to whatever your dance instructor is doing right now, while trying to make it look natural. This to me is an indication that, while the two haven't known each other for very long, Fen clearly looks up to Jade, and for reasons that are about to become very obvious in a few moments, wants to grow up to be just like her. Suddenly, the peace of both the world and the characters is interrupted by the DomZ mentioned in the news report. The direction here does an excellent job at conveying just how much the DomZ do not belong here. Not only does their mode of transportation blacken the skies, they even come out of a never fully explained vortex that pretty much just looks like a portal to space hell. In a very defining second, Jade immediately responds to the threat by bringing Fen to safety. There is some bizarre trickery going on here. Fen has his arms wrapped around her, only for them to disappear one frame later for Jade's character intro splash screen-a-mabob. I get that this makes Jade more visible, but having Fen's arms on her shoulders would have characterized her protective personality even better. Instead of just carrying Fen into the lighthouse, she asks him to inform Paige. I wonder who that is.
Go tell Paige. I'll take care of the shield.
Shield activated.
disabled.
Your Optima account is
350.
units short. Your electrical supply has just been blocked.
Gotta be joking!
There are some neat bits of world building here. How many sci-fi action games have you played in which you have to pay the bills? This is just genuinely really funny to me. This also does a great job at making the world more relatable. In the background, you can see a meteorite hitting Mamago Garage. That place doesn't have a shield up either, so there's a possibility that the Optimus service, like probably the bank and definitely part of the military, are conspiring with the DomZ. They could easily just look at a spreadsheet and tell the DomZ which places can't afford their bills or have a track record of responding slowly to attacks. We later find out Mamago Garage does have a shield, but it didn't get it up in time. But that's just a theory, so take it with a grain of tinfoil. Jade nearly gets smushed by a meteorite but avoids it with a sweet dodge roll, establishing that we'll be controlling a character who will rely on her agility when in danger. The orphans, yeah, they're orphans, aren't so lucky and get captured by creatures we will learn are called DomZ sarcophagi. This particular breed of alien pulls in victims and slowly drains the life from them. Seeing him flailing and passing out is an effective way of showing how quickly victims are incapacitated. And while this never really becomes a factor, it does help the player understand how DomZ function, which is a nice touch. The music here has an interesting hint of Jerry Goldsmith's Ave Satani to it. That's how evil those guys are supposed to feel right off the bat. It is a little strange, though, that all the orphans are still outside. Did Fen run in to get help and then run back out? It's dumb. With the kids captured, Jade hesitates for a brief moment. We've already seen her act instantly to protect Finn, so this shot of her taking a second before grabbing the burning branch shows her reservations about the use of violence. This leads to the game's first bit of gameplay. Being thrust right into a battle without a chance to learn the controls in a safe environment may seem like poor design. I definitely struggled for a few seconds relearning the button layout, but the connection this creates between the player and Jade makes this decision more than worth it. You're not prepared, Jade's not prepared, and neither of you have fought DomZ before. But assuming that you've held a controller more than once in your life, the HUD in the top left tells you everything you need to know. Beyond Good and Evil uses a fairly simple combat system. Point the control stick in a direction, press A to fight, and Jade attacks whatever is in that direction with a satisfying flurry of staff attacks and kicks. Hearts are self-explanatory, and it's safe to assume that another face button will allow you to eat the thing that's the same color as your hearts to refill them, should you take damage. There's another excellent bit of world building here. The first enemies you fight, the easiest enemies you fight, are the big bad DomZ that everyone is so afraid of. Why? These guys are Goombas. Anyone with any semblance of combat training is going to be able to kick the arms off of a dozen of these without breaking a sweat. How do they manage to abduct people every day if they disintegrate after getting hit with a stick a few times? I'm glad you ask. Keep that in mind for later. So with a, for the time, graphically impressive show of martial prowess, Jade frees the orphans one by one, but then creepy alien nonsense happens. That Shawnee bit is important, so just remember that. And now, just as it would seem that Jade has been thoroughly outplayed, enter the mysterious Page. He gets established as quickly and perfectly as Jade did before. He's loud and reckless. His scar and his tusks are those of a tough guy, but his short stature and rotund body are those of a cute little piggy. He's that obnoxious relative you can't help but like because he's always there for you and always good for a laugh. He frees Jade by ground-pounding the DomZ creature, which is funny because he's fat, and passes her primary weapon for the rest of the game, the Daijo, which, in Japanese tradition, rather creatively means big stick. Shut up. The big stick allows Jade to use her super attack, and that's about it. It's not explained what the super attack is. She just charges and jumps and spins, and wowee, that's a super. It definitely seems supernatural, but there's a whole other problem with that. Ignoring that for now. So you defeat the mini-boss by using Jade's super attack. You also have to dodge a laser and beat up some more sarcophagi. It's fairly basic stuff, but it's also 5 minutes into the game, and again, DomZ are weak. The alien shrivels up and dies, and its green glowy core is slowly purifying into a pretty pearl for you to pocket. And ignore the flashing HUD, I fixed that issue right after this recording session. Page is commenting on the DomZ attacks hitting closer and closer and harder. When I was a stupid little child, i.e. the 22 years before Dark Souls taught me the beauty of hunting down every single word I could find, I missed a lot of optional dialogue. The fact that the DomZ have seemingly been zeroing in on the lighthouse with increasing force and the familiar tone of MacRaberson over here already reveal part of the big plot twist at the end of the game. And it's the first line of optional dialogue in the game. But you wouldn't know what it means if you didn't know where the story is going. I love it. Page encourages Jade to take the pearl, and my heart skips a beat because Beyond Good and Evil cares enough about internal consistency to explain how Jade can carry literally everything with her at all times. She even seems to enter a passcode to unlock it. I'm a sucker for this kind of stuff. Pearls of Aramis are weird. They are shown to be the source of power for a subset of DomZ called Spirit Eaters, like this guy. However, you can also find them with some types of wildlife, so put on your tinfoil hats, it's time for another starboard speculation. We soon learn that the DomZ are interested in materia crystals, and later in the story you find out that they use them to power some of their magic-like abilities. Seeing how the DomZ are established to be an almost entirely parasitic species, both physiologically and culturally, I personally believe that pearls are not a natural part of any DomZ subspecies. I believe the DomZ discovered pearls as some kind of energy source and merely latch onto them to fuel their laser escapades. The fact that all pearls seem to be in perfect condition no matter how you acquire them suggests they might actually be a self-sufficient energy source. Sounds crazy? I know. But the golden age of spaceflight in the Beyond Good and Evil universe was brought about by the discovery of a substance called Diwalite, a self-sufficient energy source that, quote, can be controlled by introducing code to direct it to perform a function or assemble itself into technologies and complex structures, end quote, oh, and also animals and people and both. Boom. Pearls are made of Diwalite. I'm officially the #1 biggest fan of the series, and I'm only 7 minutes into my 10-hour playthrough. We're also briefly introduced to Segundo, who is not made of Diwalite, so I'm not as excited about him. He's the AI that lives in Jade's sack and sounds like me when I forget a word in French and just finish a sentence in Spanish instead. Right after that, the Alpha sections arrive at the scene, and when has an angry skull face ever been bad news? I would also love to see a game where you see an NPC with a massive weak spot and they end up being a good guy. Jade, however, currently somehow still believes that the Alpha sections are good guys. Somehow. We're about to see more of Paige distrusting the alpha sections, but we get a little taste of it here. Paige is a tech head, but an analog one. We're greeted by a convenient TV crew, and I'll just let this one play out. The English dub is, for the most part, excellent.
Here on Hillis, war has once again reared its ugly head, striking the civilian population. Luckily, our elite forces have once again arrived in the nick of time. I'm coming to you live from the Southern Lighthouse Shelter. Here is where some of the children whose parents have been captured by the DomZ have been taken in by two devoted and courageous Hillians. Miss, a word for our listeners.
Yeah, well, you guys are not what I'd call as fast as a speeding bullet. Keep doing nothing, and next time, there'll be nothing left here to save.
Cut! Hey, Pop, stay zen. Don't get your snout bent out of shape. All right, boys, that's a wrap. Pack it up.
Thanks, Paige. If it wasn't for you,
So, hey, me again, future me. So thank you for watching to the end or skipping to the end, whichever you did. I appreciate it either way because, you know, the world is nicer when you appreciate each other. Anyway, I'll try to get another video like this out by next week. So look forward to that. Bye.